What up, guys? It's Right On Sports News. Today we're going to be talking about the Minnesota Vikings and who they might have at quarterback for their 2018-2019 season. And I'm going to give you my pick on who I would want to be my quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. Now they have quite a few different options here. They got Case Keenum, Sam Bradford, Teddy Bridgewater, all quarterbacks that were on their roster last year. They all played quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings at some point. As well, they have some outside options. Former Redskins quarterback Kirk Cousins and former backup quarterback of the Bengals, McCarron. So all these guys have been thrown into this hodgepodge that they might be the Vikings' next new quarterback. Now let's just go through the list. Sam Bradford. He's a guy who, yes, doesn't throw for a ton of yards, but doesn't throw a lot of picks, throws a decent amount of touchdowns, has a very high completion percentage, and normally has a very high quarterback rating. But what is Sam Bradford's big issue? Injuries. The man, throughout his whole entire career since he was drafted in 2010 with the first overall pick to the Rams, he has never been able to stay healthy. Coming out of Oklahoma, I thought Bradford was going to take the NFL by storm. I thought he was the next big thing. Watch out. And he never amounted to that because he was always injured. And it's unfortunate because he does have a lot of talent. And I think he can be an extremely good quarterback in the league right now. Problem is, I just don't think you can bet on him and give him a big contract, because you don't think he can stay healthy. So I would not give him a contract. Just on that. I heard the Browns may be very interested in him, and I think the Browns should take the chance because they have no other option. Take the chance. Might as well. It would be a good move by the Browns. Now, what's another guy? Teddy Bridgewater. Really, ACL injury in 2016, the preseason. Couldn't bounce back for 2017. Didn't play. He got a couple snaps, I believe, at the end of the year. He ended up throwing a pick. So it really didn't work out. It's unfortunate. It was an unfortunate situation because he was supposed to be the guy. And if you look at the stats, a lot of people say after the 2015 season, the Vikings, they were in it. They were about to beat the Packers. They were about to overtake that division with Teddy Bridgewater at the helm. And I don't think so. I think the team was a lot better around Bridgewater than it is now, the way Case Keenum rallied the troops to win the division and get to the championship game. But if you look at Bridgewater's stats, they just weren't off the charts. If you look at 2015, his only full season in action, he threw for 3,200 yards, 14 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. And really, do we have a whole ton of stats to go off of? No. Because really he hasn't been in the league that long. And for the amount that he's been in the league, 2 of the years he's been injured. So really hard to even make a good criticism on it because there's not a big sample size to take. But from what we have, I just don't think he's worth the chance of giving him a big contract. I think it should be a lower team that needs a quarterback, like maybe a Browns situation. Just maybe back up for the Steelers. Maybe. But for you to be a starting quarterback, give him that big deal, I don't think Teddy Bridgewater is the guy. So, really, no. Now, who's another guy? McCarron. He did a very good job filling in for Andy Dalton a couple seasons ago for the Bengals and going into the playoffs as well. They already clinched a playoff spot, so really there wasn't a lot of pressure on him in the regular season. But I tell you, in that playoff game against the Steelers, if it wasn't for Vontaze Burfict and Pac-Man Jones, the Steelers would have been hightailing out of there. They would have been gone. Bengals would have been moving on for the first playoff win in a long time. unfortunately, just bad decisions by both Vontaze Burfict and Pac-Man Jones. You know, the way the personal fouls and that hit on Antonio Brown. Just, do I think Brown flopped a little bit? Yeah, but, you know, it is what it is. But just to say A.J. McCarron should get a big contract just off, you know, a couple games, I just don't think it's worth it. Kind of, you run back into a Mike Glennon situation. You know, you took into account just a couple games, and the Bears gave him that huge contract, and obviously it didn't work out, and I don't think you should give that to A.J. McCarron. Possibly the Browns will go after again after a failed trade earlier this season. How they did that, I'll never know. The Browns organization always seems to baffle me, but you know what? It's pretty funny to laugh at, I guess. So, for the Vikings to pick up A.J. McCarron, again, not liking it. Now we're going to get down to our final two quarterbacks here that I think it comes down to these final two quarterbacks. That'd be Kirk Cousins and Case Keenum. I'm going to boil them down right now. We're going to start off with Kirk Cousins. With the Redskins, hasn't ever really amounted to anything. He's got some 4,000 yard seasons in there. You know, statistically, he's actually been decent. He's been pretty good. Now, problem is, checks it down. So, really, you're not looking for that big play out of Kirk Cousins. He's not a gunslinger, if you will. He's not a Drew Brees. But, you know, it doesn't throw many picks. Throws a decent amount of touchdowns. But why am I not going to put Kirk Cousins at quarterback for my Minnesota Vikings? He can't win any game that matters. He can't. Kirk Cousins, just because he can't. Why did we really criticize Romo for most of his career? Because he couldn't win any big game. Statistically, he was a great quarterback. If you go by just statistically, Tony Romo was a great quarterback. If you go by just statistically, Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback. But there are more to the game than just statistics. And why do you play? You play to win the game. It's a famous quote. You play to win the game. Kirk Cousins can't win the game. He can't win any game. It's always just a very mediocre season or a bad season. He can't make the playoffs. You kidding me? Even if he got there, even if he somehow stumbled or fell into the playoffs, you wouldn't be able to do anything. He hasn't shown anything. He's not a good quarterback. He's had talent around him. He just hasn't been able to put it together. He can't step up in any kind of big-time situation. That's why he's not going to be a quarterback in the Minnesota Vikings. I'm going to be taking Case Keenum as my quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings. The guy just made it to the championship game. The guy, and he's never going to speak bad about anybody. He is a true team player. And that's what you need. You need that locker room, and that locker room did rally around him because he is a team player. His stats are okay. He had 3,500 yards this year, 22 TDs, and I think like 10 interceptions. Decent statistical year. He won the games. He was smart. Just everything you want a quarterback to do, Case Keenum did. And that's why Case Keenum should be the quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings in the 2018-2019 season. Enough said. It speaks for itself. That's really it. That's all I have to say. If you enjoyed the video, remember to like, comment, subscribe. If you want me to talk about something, leave it in the comments below. And always remember, right on, brother. All right, we'll see you.